So it's building up here. It's an unrestored log, that amount. And that's going to be normal here. This is going to go a little higher than the unsent log. So this is sending it first. And now if I refresh it, you'll see everything should be hopefully kind of zero-ish. And there we go. So now everything is synced, as you can see, because you don't have any unsent logs from the principal, and you don't have any unrestored logs in the mirror database. So this is one way of doing it. Okay, so I'm going to close this now, and that's done. So that's one of the ways of looking at it. The other way to look at it, obviously, is through some of the SQL scripts. Now, there's a tremendous amount of SQL scripts, so I've given you a lot of them here. These basically tell you the status of the environment, and I'll be providing you with all these scripts so you can view them yourself. Here, SQL scripts for monitoring and investigating database mirroring. Information about database mirroring. So if you just execute this, I'm on the mirror, as you can see. I don't have the dev. So if I execute this, it gives me the database names that are mirrored. So if you have hundreds of databases, then obviously this becomes relevant. Here we can immediately see this 3 principal. But if you have hundreds of databases, these scripts become extremely important. So you can tell the state, obviously we want them to be synchronized. We're talking about the principal role and so forth. I've also now, you'll notice I've put an asterisk here. So the reason I've put that here is so you can see all the relevant data. And I would highly recommend you to kind of go through all of them. But these are some of the important fields that you should be paying attention to. There are many more, obviously, that you want to get familiar with. So if you want to look at the mirroring partner instance, and so on. So there's a tremendous amount of more. So this information about database mirroring connections. So remember we said that this is logged in here. So this is a principal's name, remote name, whether it's on or not. And again, a little more information. So I'm not going to go through these every single fields here. I just want you to be noticed that you can use these. These are the endpoints. And obviously this is a mirrored endpoint. The type of protocol, it's a database mirroring. Obviously it's started and so on. So you can look at through this also. And script to indicate which database has been mirrored. So you can look at these. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to go through all this over and over again. It's just you have to be selective. Script to indicate which database is in sync mode. So if you execute this, these are again sync mode, or synchronous mode, I should say. Which ones are in asynchronous mode? So obviously none of them are asynchronous mode, so we should get none. Script to indicate which database has fully synchronized or not. So this is an important one, obviously, if you're running this. We want to make sure that the database are synchronized all the time. And if you don't get it from the mirror list, then you may want to investigate why. Setting it, obviously, you can set the database to synchronous or asynchronous by executing the set partner off. So if you highlight this and execute it, it'll give you an actual script that you copy, paste on another pane, and execute it. And this will actually, command that you'll be executing is alter database mirror set partner off. And that's what you'll be doing. And same thing here. And obviously, if you wanted to suspend it, now obviously you can suspend it via GUI. You can go right click, tasks, back to the mirror. Remember that interface. So if you wanted to pause it, you can go pause here. Are you sure you want to pause? Go yes. And if you obviously want to resume it, just go resume and it'll start synchronizing. Are you sure you want to pause this mirror? Yes. Are you sure you want to, and obviously it's going to synchronize itself, so that may take a little while since it's doing it, so we'll go okay. So this is another way of looking at it. As I said, you can use this to resume. Now obviously if you wanted to fail over a mirror, obviously you can do this also. And again, it'll give you the printout, so you would highlight this, copy, paste it into a separate pane, and then it would fail over. Now, obviously, if you want to fail over manually, or through the GUI, I should say, you go back to the mirror, and obviously, as you know, we can execute just by clicking on this, going yes, and now this will become a mirror, and this will become a principal. You can look at the history of results, for example, how much activity is going on. And again, I encourage you to go through this, through these views, if you will, to get what's going on. Now, obviously, if you wanted to just terminate the If you wanted to end the mirroring, you can certainly do it through the GUI, but this is an easier way of doing it. Use on mirror database to stop mirroring and drop database. So if you want to, for example, we've got the mirror database here, and we want to make sure we're on the right server, which we are. So if we want to stop mirroring a database, you can do it through this GUI. Alter database, database name, mirror, set partner off. Now watch this. So if I execute this and execute it, it's done. Let me make sure it's the right one. There we go. And there we go. And then obviously, in order to get it out of restore, you have to restore the database with that command. And now it's not database mirroring. And obviously, if I want to drop it, we can just drop it here. And if we want to drop the endpoint, obviously, we want to do that. So we want to get rid of this mirror completely. Go to Server Objects, go to Endpoints, expand database mirroring, and you can see it. You can obviously right-click and delete it, or you can use this drop endpoint command. And if you execute this, I don't think it's called mirroring. So let's put mirroring, and now you can use this to drop it. Or mirroring, I should say. I've created so many that I'm losing track of what I have created and what I haven't. And there we go. So now if you refresh it, the mirroring has been taken off this server. Obviously, if you look at this server and refresh the databases, we still have it going. So we must get rid of that also. So all you want to do is just copy this. Make sure you go to that particular instance or server. Open a new query, and again just execute the same command. Just go 1 2 3 4 5, and it's gone. What happened there? And as you can see, it's gone. If you want to get rid of the endpoint, which is server, let's see if we refresh it, and we can just go right click, delete. Okay, so now the database mirroring has been removed from both instances for that particular database. So I think I'll leave it here. I'm not sure what happened here. Maybe it's just, let's refresh it. Press F5. And there we go. So that is how you, let me just pause this video for a second because I need to make sure the noise is being. I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I just have another computer right next to me that makes a lot of noise, so I don't want it to interfere in our video. So anyway, so we're coming to an end here. So we looked into this, just a summary. We looked at how to monitor database mirroring using the GUI interface, and we had some SQL scripts that we ran against the databases to look at their various states. So remember, the two more important ones that you want to keep an eye on is unsent logs and the unrestored logs in the database. And I think I'm going to leave it here now, and this is probably enough for here for database mirroring. The next thing we're going to be talking about is replication, and we're going to go into a little more detail in replication. One of the reasons I don't want to get into database mirroring too much here, although you do know now enough about database mirroring to execute it on a production environment, is because with the advent of always-on availability groups, that encompasses database mirroring into a higher state. So if your environment has database mirroring, if your environment has and can utilize always-on capabilities, which we'll talk about, then I would highly recommend using that technology rather than database mirroring. And as I mentioned, the database mirroring is becoming somewhat obsolete in replace of always-on. And when we talk about always-on, you'll realize that you maybe not necessarily doing this in your environment if you have the options. But it's always good to know, just in case an environment cannot afford always on, because it is a little higher technology and it does cost a little more in terms of licensing the SQL server that you have to purchase, because it's only in an enterprise edition. So I'm going to leave it here, and we'll continue with the next lecture. So my name is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. See you in the next video.